Hey guys, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have the G&L on the bench with the final video. I'm hoping it's going to be the final video. I'm going to walk you through what we've done so far and where we're at. I have been taking measurements on and off for the last week or so as far as the setup goes. I'm going to show you what we've done, and we're going to do some minor surgery today to finish this guitar and get it ready to go back to the happy owner, but not until I take it to the rehearsal studio with my band and play it. I have been playing it, and it rocks. Let's get to work. In the movie, there we go. So you can see we have buttons, we have volume and tone and bass cut. We've sussed out all the electronics as per previous videos. It took me a little while to get that. We still have a bass cut position when you're in the neck pickup position, and you have the active on. It tends to want that's basically a bass cut, and it cuts it too much, but I have not been able to source the correct or a correct circuit board for it. But out of the 50,000 configurations of sound that you can get on this particular instrument, I'm okay with living with that for a 42-year-old guitar. Okay, again, I sourced out some knobs that look as close to what would have been on there originally. I know the glare is hard to see, but they were big fat honkers, and I'm so glad to have them on there because now I can turn the guitar upside down and it keeps the weight. I don't have to put something to support it so that it doesn't, when it's upside down and I'm working on the back, that it doesn't run on these toggle switches. Very important electronics. Complicated a little bit, electronics in this guitar. But these things look like $1 million, and they're very, very similar to what came on it. Try to find G&L 42-year-old. This is an 81. It is probably one of the first run production guitars that Leo and his partners put out with the G&L. Before I get too far, there was a monster chip out here. I sanded that down. I took a razor blade, and actually there was a crevice in there, a previous repair where somebody had something happened and a part of the rosewood popped out or broke out, and they just glued it in there. So I didn't like the crevice, and you could feel it. And not only that, it was actually level with that fret right there. So I took a razor blade, put a little CA glue on it, touched it, and the glue wicked down into the crevice. I let it dry for a few minutes because that stuff is pretty super fast. And then I went to sanding it. And now you can still see it, but you can't feel it. And as I said, I played this guitar many times in my home studio just to test everything that I've done. Adjustment wise, probably I'm still going to shim up the neck slightly. When I took it apart, the shim was way too high, I can tell. When I had the bridge completely dismantled, cleaned all the saddles, and got all this put back together, I guessed at where the intonation and the string height should be. It is set perfectly now. And I mean from the nut all the way down to here. Look, if you check, you're going to find some buzzing frets down here. But when I was playing it, I didn't notice it. A lot of that stuff disappears when it goes through the amplifier. We're not going to go into fret leveling or, even worse, replacing the frets on this. It's not in the customer's budget. It's not what he wanted out of this. Like I said, I'm going to play it when I go into the play with the band this weekend, first in the studio, and then we're going to have a gig. So I'm going to give this guitar a workout. I wish that two things I could put, when I build my own guitars, I put a thumb stop here. This guy must have had hands that were twice the size of mine, because that mark right there is where he kept running his thumb. I like mine much closer, and I don't, this is too close when I run on the actual pickup, and it doesn't give me I want to be in that sweet spot between both pickups. I usually put a hardwood thumb stop there, something to rest my thumb on, and it's usually about that long, so I can run in and out, get different tones just by moving my thumb and where I'm plucking on the strings. A string, sussed out. I still want to put another string tree in there, but I'm going to point that out to the customer. It depends on, you know, his son, when he gets this back, how he plays. If he notices that the A string is buzzing, we can go back in, shim the neck, and maybe it'll get just enough break angle, but I am leaning towards, and I even sourced one out of my toolbox and my spare parts, another string tree, which I have done on some of my own guitars that I play, as per previous video. I won't bore you with that. So everything is adjusted. Now, what we did between the last video and today was somebody had, make sure I'm in the movie, somebody had drilled a hole to put a strap button in the lower horn. And it was just an empty hole. So I over drilled it slightly and put a hardwood dowel in there just to cover that hole, because I didn't like it. On a high-end guitar with a perfect paint job, I would have sanded all that down and tried to match the color and the paint and everything, and that can get really, really complex. This guitar's got a lot of checking on it. Really, all I wanted to do was cover the hole. I did the same thing in this hole, because I put a couple of screws in there and it's not going to tighten up, and the correct way to do it is, again, drill it out, over drill it, put a hardwood, I used oak hardwood dowel. And when I say hardwood dowel, I mean hardwood dowel. You can get it at Home Depot. You can overspend and order it on the internet, but hardwood, oak, walnut, something that's really, really hard. Over drill it, cut it to as close to the exact depth. Takes a little measurement, and I usually use a toothpick and a pencil to get to exactly where I cut it off, and then I tap it down in there with a bunch of really good hard bond wood glue, and you know the brand that I use. That is cured. That was yesterday's repair. Now on the bottom, let me see if I can get it in the movie. Somebody really went goony goo goo on this. So I had to over drill it. The screw was actually going in at an angle because they didn't know how to repair it, to put the strap button down in there. So they tried whopping out the hole, chipped up all the paint, and put the screw in sideways. That is not how you repair this. Again, I over drilled it, and then I very tediously took a sharp wood chisel and cut it out so that it will accept to take up some of that. It's literally a bowl. To take up some of that, I'm going to put an actual hard fit washer in there, a piece of hard washer. And then we're going to drill it and put on some shallower strap locks. And these, I have them on all of my guitars. I accept no substitutes. In fact, I put shallower tuners on my guitars, and all of my research tells me that Leo used shallower products when he was manufacturing these guitars back in the day. Stand by me quickly. I want to get everything in the movie. Sorry. I use these on all of my guitars. I don't mess around. The only thing that stays on the guitar is this little button, and then this is your lock. You actually put this on your guitar strap, and that clicks on there, and trust me, it will never come off. Every once in a while, you have to make sure that the little black button that is screwed in there, just like a strap button, is secure and tight. And when you get heavy guitars like this, they can move around, and if you gig a lot or use the instrument a lot or go to the studio, whatever you're doing, they can come loose, and they do need to be tightened, secured every once in a while. But once I put that thing in there, it's going to be secure. It's going into an oak dowel that is oversized, and the screw, when it goes in there, is actually going to start putting pressure on that dowel, and the glue that's hardened, it'll never come out of there. Same thing up here on the upper horn. So that's what today's exercise is going to be. I'm going to pause briefly while I get my drill and the right size bit and the right screws for this, and make sure that they're the right size that I want to use for this, because they come with relatively small screws. I've never had a problem with them, but this guitar literally is about 1.5 pounds, almost 2 pounds heavier than my heaviest bass guitar, because it's got a lot of extra gear on it. So I may actually oversize the screw slightly, and you can do it, but I got to find one with the right head that will actually go in there and seat properly in the button. Sorry, I was out of the movie again. So stand by. This is where we're going. Okay, we're back momentarily. Now, this is the screw. Where did my screw go? Right here. This is the screw we're using. This is the one that comes with the Schaller strap lock. Now, I'm sure somewhere it'll tell you on Schaller's site what size drill bit to use. My rule of thumb, I have tape on there. Sorry, I don't know why I keep getting so far out of the movie. Let me adjust things slightly here. I guess because I'm ambidextrous and I keep wanting to talk over here instead of over there. Or over here, and yeah. Sorry, I have tape on there from a previous repair that I needed to only go that far. We're going to take the tape off. And because this is the exact drill bit that I want. We can get all this tape off. It's been on there for a million years. Give me a second. Now, what I do, and unless you have bionic eyes or you're really young and your eyes are still good, which I'm not, I'm going to get all that tape off there. Stand by for a second. Sorry about that. So what I do is I take the screw that you're going to put in, and this drill bit is to put the pilot hole in the hardwood dowel to accept the strap lock button. The way I do it, and unless you have the manufacturer sends you a drill bit of exactly the right size for that exact screw, I sight with my bionic eyes the size of the drill bit should not exceed the actual shaft of the screw and leave the threads overhang your pilot hole. So therefore, we're drilling a pilot hole. We want all of the threads to be on the screw, the fastener, to be in virgin wood. The pilot hole is only to stop us from splitting it and forcing it in there. In other words, when you line that drill bit up on there, you want it to cover the shaft, but the threads should stick out. And I know the camera's not picking that up, but that's how you're going to tell. And it's a really small little drill bit. And the reason that I do it that way, and it has always worked out for me, is, again, it's going to give us just enough of a tunnel for the screw to go in, but it's also going to give the threads enough virgin wood that have not been drilled to grab a hold of. And by the time it goes down through 15 threads, it's going to seat in there And I'm telling you, I have yet to have them come out. So that's where we're at. That's how I do it. That's how I was taught to do it. You can, go and search for this particular type of thread and measure it and go all that, but it's going to come out the same. Just line up your drill bit onto the shaft of the screw, the fastener, the screw, the bolt that you're using, especially in wood. This is our application. And make sure that you can see not the shaft, but the thread sticking out on either side. That's where you're going to be. So we're going to put our drill bit in the drill, and this is going to make a lot of racket. Now, also, sometimes you want to just go to the depth, but we'll get that in there. And make sure you don't go too far. You want to kind of go only the depth of the threads. That's what the tape was on this before. And that's about right. That's going to seat. It leaves me just enough for it to seat in the button and find purchase in that hardwood dowel. Now the tricky part is, and I'm not going to do this on video because I have to lift this up, get down there with my bionic eyes, and I want to try to drill as straight as I can into that new hardwood oak dowel, so that when this goes in, it doesn't go in at an angle like the guy that before me tried to repair it and find purchase. It needs to go right in the middle of that 1/4 inch dowel. That way it grabs purchase and it spreads out that wood and makes it even tighter in the hole that we over drilled and installed it yesterday with wood glue. So stand by. I'm going to show you the end result. And I don't want you to hear this thing going grinding on there, but I have to lift this up and get it just right. Stand by. So we successfully drilled our pilot hole. Now we're going to put the strap button in there, but not before we put our little metal shim, because I want it to pull this strap button out slightly from this cavity that somebody so nicely gave me to work with. So let us drive her home. Now when we get close, I'm going to want to get that. Oh yeah, she's pulling up nicely. We're going to get that shim, that washer. I'm calling it a shim, but it's basically a washer, to seat and come home. And I should be able to put, oh, that is nice. And then our strap lock should have plenty of purchase, and it sticks out just enough, and that thing is secure. That is really secure. One strap lock installed, and then we fixed the problem that was there for who knows how many decades. Okay, so that one's done. We're going to do the same thing on this horn, and again, I'm going to pause because I have to flip the guitar all the way around. This time I'm going to actually show you drilling into that horn because it's a little bit easier to see that. But I'm going to flip it around so it's facing this way. Okay, so stand by. Okay, sorry, we're back. I hit the button by accident to start the video. So as you can see, we flipped the guitar around, and I'm trying to get lined up. I have just enough room for the drill to fit under the neck and get a really good straight angle at our oak dowel. And I had measured my drill bit, so I knew once it bottoms out on the end of the chuck, that's where we need to be. So we're ready to put in the other strap button. And I know from the first one that we did that this should be just Jake. There's my other screw. Right there. I think I may have to pause briefly. I think I just heard the ominous horn of the UPS truck. I'm going to hope he doesn't start ringing the bell. If he does, I'll have to stop. So this is going to be a little tricky getting this in there. We have our whole pilot hole drilled. We're going in. I'm going to get it in as straight as possible. Just like the other one. I know this could be unsettling to watch, but once it drives home, it will not come out of there. And just like before, it should tighten up and come right home. Oh yeah, and you know that feeling when you know something has seated and is tight? That's what we're looking for. So I know now that this guitar is ready for whatever guitar strap that the next guy that wants to play it, which is my customer's son, as we've talked about in previous videos on this in the series. He's going to actually bolt these onto his guitar strap, and that strap is going to be for this guitar. So stand by. That is the UPS guy banging on my door. Okay, we're back. Sorry about the interruption. It happens. There's only one UPS driver that knows to knock on my door. I've been getting deliveries from him for 10 years, literally. His name is Terry. How are you, Terry? Shout out. Really, really good people. So we're done. This guitar literally just has to sit. I may mock up a strap for them just to show them how this works. They're mechanics, they're car guys like me, and they're guitar people. The family is very interesting. Just a side note, when I got the Volkswagen guitar from the previous, another video, you saw it, it's from the same people, same customers. When they were young kids, their mother's mantra was, everybody has to play an instrument of some sort. He pulled out a 50-year-old ukulele that looked like it just came off the factory floor. It was brand new. I tuned it up and plucked away at it a little bit. They had a classical acoustic guitar, and they ended up, chatting them up because they've now become a customer with me. And I was so interested in that, that, their mother, when they were young kids, and they're, my age now, 50s, 60s, sorry to date myself, she said everybody in this house is going to play an instrument, and didn't matter what kind. Some of them played clarinet, some of them played horns, but it seemed like most of them got, some sort of a string instrument. And the only one in the family, oddly enough, is my regular customer from my other business. His son, who is now, I don't know, 20 or approaching 20, the one that bought this guitar, and the one that is going to get this guitar back because his dad stole it from him, gave it to me and said, bring it back to life. We're going to give it to him on his birthday in September. It's done, and he's the only one that has, carried on that wannabe musical character. I applaud him for that. I've been musical my whole life, and this is where it's led me. So this guitar is done. We're going to let it sit. There are some things that I want to address. The frets are old and grungy. I dress to them, I clean the neck, but I'm not going to, I don't want to actually polish the frets because they're pretty low as it is. And as I said before at the beginning of this video, fret leveling and or leading to fret replacement is not in this guitar's immediate future. It might be at some point, and I'm sure I will be the one to do that. But as I said, I've played it again and again and again, and I like this guitar. It is a powerful guitar. Leo Fender knew what he was doing. I am not a proponent of having batteries and onboard preamps in guitars. But after I played this guitar a little bit, I go, okay, I get what you were after, Leo. Leo Fender was a genius. I've said it a million times. That is going to wrap it up. I'm Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks so much for playing along. This is the last video on the G&L L2000 Series E from 1981. We're going to talk soon. We're going to have some more interesting projects coming up. I have my Telecaster, which I'm getting ready to put all the electronics and string it up and make it play. It looks cool. It's going to sound cool. We'll talk soon.